Hey guys, welcome to another film review. Today we're going to be talking about a film that probably no one has ever heard of besides me. It's a pretty indie movie and I don't think there's any quotes in it that particularly stand out, that make you remember it and that you've heard time and time again. And that movie today is Taken. Okay, so maybe a few people have heard of Taken. It stars Liam Neeson, Famke Jensen, Maggie Grayson, Katie Cassidy, and it's directed by Pierre Morrel. And it's a 2008 film, as many of you will know, about Liam Neeson's character whose daughter gets taken. Taken isn't as good as a lot of people are going to make out to you, but that does not mean that it's a bad film. There are certainly big weaknesses in it, and it essentially comes down to, do people value those weaknesses more than some other people do? For example, there are weaknesses that I'm going to go into, but I think that the good parts of Taken actually outweigh these things, and that's what I think is important. So the plot's very simple. Liam Neeson plays Brian Mills, a father who was divorced from his wife, and who constantly wants to be near his daughter, like he wasn't able to during the marriage. And that makes him quite paranoid of losing her, because he is in sort of ex-secret agent. He's kind of seen the world, and he's got some incredible fighting skills, some talents, some particular sets of skills, if you know what I'm saying. So when his daughter Kimmy wants to go to Paris to see a band she likes, he is understandably a little bit like, I don't know about that. That's kind of dangerous. So what's the first thing that happens? Well, she gets taken. The name of the film. She gets taken, and she essentially has to try and find her. And this leads him through the seedy underbelly of France. You see him go through trafficking rings, punching people, shooting people, bashing skulls, taking names, the usual stuff. Brian Mills in this film is an absolute one-man army of destruction. He is not holding back. And in some ways it's a bad thing, but there are a number of things about Taken that are actually very good. For example, early on in the scene where the daughter gets taken, that is an excellently done scene. It is fantastic. I've seen the film twice now, and the second time, you know it's going to happen. You know it will happen because, title of the film again. But I don't quite understand. Maybe it's the way he goes back and forth between Liam Neeson being on the phone to his daughter, because his daughter has called him and he says, leave the phone on so I can hear these guys' voices. Maybe it's that, and maybe it's that we don't actually see her get taken. We hear it through the phone. So to an extent, it's left to our imagination. That is very effectively done, actually, and it's kind of a surprise from a film like this. And given the rest of the movie, it's kind of surprised that he got this really brilliant scene in there. But it's fantastically well done. It creates great tension, and you feel genuinely sorry for his daughter as a result, and you genuinely want him to find her as a result. That's another thing. Pierre Morel does a great job of actually getting us emotionally invested in the fairly simple story, and he mainly does this at the beginning by making Brian Mills a fairly pitch-perfect dad. He does nothing wrong. He doesn't outstep. He does everything that a good dad should. And he's also Liam Neeson, so he's got that going for him. And that leaves a good enough impression that for the entire film, despite him breaking skulls, shooting people, being actually very vengeful at some points. There is one scene in particular, which I won't spoil, involving electricity, just so you know which one I'm talking about, where you see that he is not completely perfect. He does have vengeance in him, and he doesn't transcend that. But because he was so effectively established at the beginning as not necessarily a realistic character, but an intensely likable one, that image remains, and you don't hate him for what he's done. And when I say the movie emotionally invests you, and I don't just mean that for the main characters, you don't just like these characters, it also does a fantastic job of making you despise the bad guys. And I remember watching the film a few years back, and I thought, wow, this movie is one of the few movies that actually makes you want someone to feel pain. That's quite a disturbing emotion to feel during a film, and it's kind of also disturbing that a film can actually make you feel that. What? Was there an earthquake? What? It's kind of disturbing that the film can make you feel that, but it really does. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know some people are going to think that's immoral, that the movie makes you hate humanity and whatever, but no, I think, isn't that truly an effectively established villain? Doesn't that bring out some of the badness in our own hearts, that we, can kind of empathise with Liam's character when he does these bad things? And these things are technically bad, but we kind of want them to happen. Isn't that quite disturbing? And maybe I'm looking into Taken too much now. Maybe I'm putting too much emphasis on it. It is not a deep film by any means. It is not even a brilliant film by any means, but it can bring up these thoughts if you give them a second to actually think about them. And that's where the film shines. It gives you what you want. It gives you a thriller that is thrilling. But there are problems with it. This film is not fantastic, but it is a good film. Few problems. One of the biggest ones is that, as I've mentioned, Liam Neeson in this film was a one-man army, and where the first half hour, 45 minutes of the film are very, very effective. They have brilliant tension in them. They are really like nail-biting stuff. Later on, you kind of lose realism with the character. I know I said he's not a realistic character, but that's emotionally. In terms of the action, you don't feel like he's vulnerable later on in the film, even when the film attempts to make you feel that way. If your hero isn't vulnerable, then how can we become suitably worried about the outcome? How can we really invest in that way? And I've said already that we are invested, which might sound odd and it might sound contradictory now, but it's still a problem. Like, we could have been more so. That's the thing. We could have been more so. We always want him to win, but we're constantly shown that there's no way he can't win. You know, he destroys entire rooms, and he does it in this incredibly macho way, and it becomes a little bit more of an action film. And that's another thing. The action in this film is suitable. It is not hugely shaky cam, but it is not, you know, fluid enough. It's fine. Liam Neeson isn't, you know, he's not coming from the Raid. He's not an incredibly flippy kung fu fighter. He's a slow big lug, and in many ways the film tries to give this illusion of fast-paced action where there isn't any, because Liam Neeson isn't that character. It's not bad. The action's definitely not bad. The action can often be a bit of a distraction, and it's unappreciated sometimes. But it's not bad. It's suitable. Not the worst. So it's fine. I didn't mind it so much. It was just a little bit, you know, I preferred it elsewhere. There's not much else to say beyond that, because Taken is a simplistic, if extremely effective thriller. It is not going to blow anyone away. I don't think, anyway. It didn't blow me away. But I can appreciate a lot of the stuff it does. And besides some of the clunky storytelling, which is inescapable, you know, you can't avoid it. You can't pretend it isn't there. Besides that clunky storytelling, though, it is definitely a thriller that you're invested in for the whole time. It doesn't bore you. There's definitely more they could have done with it, but what you get is beyond suitable. It is fine. And for that, I give Taken a 7 out of 10. If you haven't seen it already, where have you been? But if you haven't seen it, give it a watch. Chances are you'll like it more than me. Chances are, again, that you might see the weaknesses stick out a lot more than a lot of other people have. For the sequels, though, maybe they weren't so good. Maybe we should take a look at them. So anyway, guys, that was my review of Taken. If you like this review, please like and favourite in the boxes below. You know what to click. And if you want to see more of these reviews, I'll even give you a Taken 2 and 3 review if you really want it. Please subscribe. It helps me more than you know. And thank you again for watching.